on there? Guys, we back with another one. And today, we got to talk a little bit more about Malika Andrews and Stephen A. Smith. Now, we all saw the blow up over the Ime Udoka incident live on television where she came on First Take and she lit into Stephen A. Smith's perspective. Anybody that said the woman's information should be released, she lashed out at him and wanted to just lean in on Ime Udoka. Let's go in on Udoka. Let's not hold the other party accountable because it doesn't fit the narrative that I'm trying to paint. And her and Stephen A. Smith had that blow up. If you need a refresher on that, check it out before I continue.
What's your reaction now after hearing the press conference?
Well, Molly, thank you. If I could first start with this. Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here, and it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that, I just wanted to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me, else should have been suspended or not. We are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves, the fact of the matter is I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately.
Okay, so now we have Stephen A. Smith on the Podcast P platform taking up for Malika Andrews, man, and the whole Brandon Miller draft night fiasco. Let's peep it.
Malika Andrews, my colleague, who everybody saw I got into an issue with on First Take months ago, and I had to check that situation. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. She getting crucified leading into the draft because she's asking Brandon Miller a question or bringing up somebody's past.
His name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jamia Harris in January. The University of Alabama has described Miller as a cooperating witness. How is this factoring, if at all, into how teams are evaluating him?
She had an obligation to ask those questions. She did her job. If she doesn't do her job, she's off the air. They're like, what we need you for?
That's where I think Stephen A. got that a little bit wrong. Malika Andrews has some connections, and she's rising in the ranks really fast. She's actually on NBA Countdown, to host the finals very fast. This is a quick, expedited process, and maybe Stephen A. got some credence to what he's saying, but there's other factors at play, and it's not her talent or her being knowledgeable about sports. It's favoritism, nepotism, nothing wrong with it. It's just what it is. I find it odd, though, that he's taken up for her in this light, especially after she tried to make him look crazy on TV. I ain't saying you should wish nothing bad on her, but when people talk themselves in the corner sometimes, they got to go through the steps to get out of that funk or out of being cast in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Where people view them just as, what they say. She hates black men. She hates men in general. Her actions and her rhetoric has to get her out of that. To see him throw on his cake and come for her in that way, I'm not thrilled to see that because we'll have to deal with this again and again and again. If she don't learn her lesson, if she don't learn how to speak appropriately to people, then she's just going to continue to do that. And if people like Stephen A. Smith try to rescue her from the backlash, then I think it's wild. And it makes me think about Jalen Rose incident, where he touched her arm. Well, where Richard Jefferson actually touched her armpit and she blamed it on Jalen. And then he comes and he takes up for her on his own IG Live. They didn't even go under the post and say, thank you, bro. Nothing like that. If they said anything to show gratitude to Jalen for extending that gesture, then it was kind of kept under the wraps. It was between them. And that's something I need you to publicly go out there and say, hey, you know what? I was tripping. That won't you. I should have never said that because things like that are serious. She never did that. But for Jalen to go on his platform made me wonder, did ESPN try to make him do that? Because he shouldn't. Obviously, it didn't work in the end because they let you go. So it would have been nice to see her or Richard Jefferson come forward and say, man, Jalen ain't do that. Because I know they saw all the outcry from it. And I ain't saying just from what us YouTubers have done, but the biggest newspapers in the world wrote about that incident. And, crickets from them. They left Jalen out there to explain by herself. And it's stuff like that makes me look at this and say, Stephen A., why didn't you just let her go through it? Let her learn. You had to learn, you had to get fired from ESPN. You had to go through your trials and tribulations as a journalist to get to the place you are today. Why should she be any different? Especially if she's an overstepper to me. Like, the way she came at Stephen A. Smith and tried to make women not like him, she went at it from that standpoint. Like, he's just a woman basher that strongly dislikes women. And yeah, that don't need defending. Let her figure that out. I just didn't like that he came with his cape on for her at that moment. She needs to feel that backlash. She needs to go through the fire. If she ain't made or cut out for it, then she'll fold. If she learns to be a better person, only then can we start to see some changes in her pattern of behavior. But if we just continue to pamper this and pacify this and say, oh yeah, that's my sister, or she would have lost her job if she didn't say that. Nah, man, nah. Because the Brandon Miller thing, let's do this. The Brandon Miller thing, she didn't have to say that, bro. She went off on a tangent. JJ Redick and them won't say certain things. They just absolutely refuse to. Malika Andrews, you know what? I really don't like people that will say anything to elevate their stat. Not anything. Some things should be off limits and some things it should be morally conflicting. Like, and that's different for different people. But she just seems like she'll step on any and everybody until she's where she wants to be. And I want them type of people to stay far away from me. I've never been good around those type of people. Just in my life and my different travels. But Stephen A. took up for this lady who tried to embarrass him on TV. I ain't saying he should hold a grudge. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying sometimes you got to let those people learn the hard way if they have a pattern of behavior. That's just my only point. But look, man, I want to know what y'all got to say about this. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.